Welcome and to the 2022 Annual General Membership Meeting. My name is Jocelyn Cordell, and I'm currently serving as the Special Assistant to the CEO at Npca. It's a pleasure to welcome you here and to share this event with you. Over the course of today, you will hear Npca staff share programming and operational updates, celebrate with us the recipients of awards from Women of Peace Corps Legacy and Npca, discuss next steps for the passage of significant Peace Forward legislation, and hear directly from a representative of the Peace Corps regarding the next steps for the agency in re-engaging with a changed world through return to service. The Zoom chat will be open throughout the event for participants to be able to engage. We kindly ask in the spirit of community that everyone engages in a constructive manner, respecting the views and opinions of all community members. Please see a message in the chat for additional information. Unfortunately, due to the size of the audience today and the capacity of staff, Npca presenters will not be able to engage in real time with members of the participants today. However, the chat will be saved and there will be an opportunity to engage directly with Npca presenters immediately after the meeting adjourns in optional breakout rooms at the end of the session. Prior to the breakout rooms, the program is expected to run today for 90 minutes. In accordance with our bylaws, section 3.8, the annual general membership meeting is formally presided over by the Npca board chair. Please allow me to formally introduce our new board chair, John Lee Evans, who is currently in Washington, D.C. with our interim CEO, Dan Baker, for this meeting. A board-elected director since his election in July, John is an RPCV who served in Honduras from 1975 to 1978, where he worked with rural school teachers and agricultural cooperative leaders in a community development agency. With a PhD in clinical psychology, John is an active practitioner who has been in private practice for 30 years. As a member of the San Diego Unified School Board for 12 years and as president for 3, John oversaw a diverse student body of over 100,000 students with an operational budget of $1.2 billion. Please join me in warmly welcoming John to the stage, who has also been featured on the Jobs with Jody podcast that you'll hear about a little later today. John, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited to be here at the Peace Corps office in Washington, D.C. With our interim president and CEO, Dan Baker. We're both here and happy to see you at this time. At this time, I'm going to call to order the meeting with the establishment of, we have a quorum of 100 members present. And now we're going to move on to the approval of the 2021 minutes from our meeting 1 year ago. So we have a motion to approve the minutes. And for a second, I see Jocelyn Cordell is seconding the motion. So please vote. We're going to activate the Zoom poll, which will close the end of the meeting. You can vote yay, nay, or abstain on the minutes. And if you can't access the poll, please check in on the chat and we will try to help you. And the link to the minutes is also being posted in the chat and is available on the AGMM event registration page as well. At this point, I want to make some comments. First of all, as I said, I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to see that we have many new and familiar faces that are here with us. We have, at this point, our new board is almost about 50% new members. So we have a lot of change there from the previous board. And as far as staff, we have a very stable staff, and we're happy that one of the staff members, Dan Baker here, has agreed to step up as the interim president and CEO. So today we're going to talk about moving ahead, and we're going to really press a reset button. Now, to do that, we also have to be cognizant of the legacy from which we come. And I want to mention one former CEO of Npca, which is Chip Dumbach, who is you're going to hear from a little bit later. He was one of the CEOs in the 90s. One of the things he advocated for was for the first time that an RPCV was actually named as the director of the Peace Corps agency. I know he started off his term without his salaries. Npca was not in a great financial situation, so I'm sure he has a story about that. And I just want to tell you a little bit about that. Chick also mentioned our previous CEO, Glenn Bloomhorst, and I'm just going to read what he said about Glenn. Glenn led us through the best years of Npca by far, structurally, programmatically, and financially. The organization blossomed and advocacy for the Peace Corps became remarkably impressive. We became what the Peace Corps community should be, a dynamic network of skilled, compassionate, and dedicated people working together to make a positive difference in whatever ways we could. And I think what he said carries true then and now as far as how we're operating as an organization. And so I know a lot has been accomplished while Glenn was here in terms of fundraising, in terms of increased numbers of affiliate groups and many programs, working with the evacuation of Peace Corps volunteers, and also working on the Peace Corps Connect, our vision for the future. Now, I was originally recruited for the board by Glenn, and he had actually departed before I came onto the board. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't address the fact that there has been a lot of turmoil in terms of our association over the past 3 months or so. And many of you have expressed your very real concerns. Some of you feel alienated from the organization, and we do need to acknowledge that. But today, again, I want to say we want to press the reset button. And I'm here today to assure you and to demonstrate that we're going to move in a positive direction. So we need to develop some trust. And I think about one of the sayings from when the Soviets and the US would discuss arms negotiations, and the mantra was trust but verify. So I'm not just asking you to trust, but to actually watch and see what we are doing. Now, I'll mention several areas. Number one, in governance, we have actually appointed a subcommittee to look at the long-term stability of our association and how to have a better governance policy through the bylaws. But second, we can make a lot of important immediate changes without changing the bylaws. And one of the things we have to recognize is that all board members are equal. There is no insider group within the board. We need to clarify the roles and responsibilities of board members, staff members, and community. We have to have clear lines delineated. And we also need to find better ways to get more input from our broader community. And I know even in the first couple of weeks that I've been in this position that we have not yet succeeded in doing a good job of that, of getting input from all of our communities. And third, I think we need to recognize the great work that is being done by our staff. We're going to hear a lot later about the great advances in advocacy, but we also need to be more supportive of our staff. And I want to make very clear that we support gender equity and that we will not tolerate discrimination on gender, race, disability, or any other factor, including generational. I know there's some generational divides within our community. We need to address those as well. And we need to support anyone who is a victim of any type of situation like this. But I want to also comment on the fact that certain allegations were made during the past year. The previous board mounted a serious investigation, both on a legal level and on the level of the policies of Npca, the higher standards. And there are allegations against the CEO and members of the staff, and they were all cleared by this investigation, both the CEO and the staff. And since that time, some of them have continued to be maligned and defamed. It affects them personally as well as affects the association. And we have a responsibility as a board to protect our staff. And also we need to protect our board from any inappropriate comments. As a peaceful organization, we really need to do much better. And number four is in terms of diversity and inclusiveness. And of course, as a Peace Corps organization, this is what we're all about. But we have formed a task force specifically dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, DEI. And it's a task force at this point, but we actually have a plan to make it a standing committee so that it's an ongoing issue which we are addressing on our school board, excuse me, on not the school board, I used to be on San Diego School Board, sorry, in this organization. And so the next area I want to mention is financial. We need to be open and transparent about our financial situation and very clear about how the money is spent that is donated. Now, today, you're going to hear the treasurer's report. This is a legally required report, and it is based on the audited 2021 financials, which has obviously happened a while before, but this needs to be reported at this point. But going forward, we need to provide more information that is helpful to our members in lay terms, and our CEO will be commenting on this. But as a new person coming on the board, I realized that the first step in terms of controlling our finances is to add on no new expenses. We need to be responsible. We're responsible for the long-term financial health of this organization. We cannot continue in business as usual in a financial sense when we're in this particular situation, which leads to the sixth point, which is a focus on fundraising. And focusing on fundraising is the responsibility of all of us, board members, staff members, affiliate groups, community members. One area we can see, for example, as I mentioned before, that our contributions are really helping is what we've been able to do with the staff that we have hired to advocate for improvements in the Peace Corps and the various things that you will hear about later. But we must be very careful during this final fourth quarter. This fourth quarter is critical to our organization to be able to continue the great work that we are doing. So we're going to reach out to all of our donors, everyone from the recently returned volunteer who can contribute a small amount to our Shrivell Circle members who have been more generously donating of their time and their treasure. And the seventh final area I want to mention is strengthening our affiliate groups. We have a great two people, both on the board and on the staff, working on this. There are amazing projects that you're going to hear about in terms of social action that is being taken by our affiliate groups. And also another area I hope our affiliate groups can help on, which the Peace Corps is very concerned about, is recruitment. And there's nobody who can do a better job of recruiting than our returned Peace Corps volunteers. Now, we have the previous board had commissioned consultants to look at our organization, which they recognize as a great organization with a wonderful purpose. But one of the things they said is that the board needs to get its house in order before bringing on a new CEO. And I would also say that we as a board need to get our act together in order to engender trust on the part of our donors. I'm optimistic that we can do this. I think we can do this if we're all united based on our Peace Corps ideals that we'll be talking about a little bit later. Now, as a psychologist, I look at what is the profile of a Peace Corps volunteer. And the things I thought of were empathy, compassion, and cultural sensitivity, as well as open-mindedness, critical thinking, and collaboration. And also, not to leave out, adventure and resilience. Now, we have returned Peace Corps volunteers who have excelled in the arts, in business, in education, in politics, and in the environment, in social justice, in so many areas, what these 240,000 persons have contributed to our country. And I think if we abide by these values, we're going to be able to proceed ahead very well in the future. And so I just thank you for this opportunity to address you. We have a lot of exciting things to show you what we're already doing and what we plan to do. And at this point, it is my honor to introduce our interim CEO, Dan Baker. Dan has more than 20 years of professional experience in both the nonprofit and public sectors. He served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Bolivia for 3 years, and he chose to extend his service to open the new program in Timor-Leste. Dan then continued with a 13-year career at Peace Corps in various staff and consultant roles, notably serving overseas as a youth development project director in Costa Rica and as director of programming and training in Ethiopia. He served in acting leadership positions in many countries, so he is very well prepared for this interim role. He concluded his time at Peace Corps headquarters as chief of programming and training for the Africa region. Dan served as a project director and senior technical advisor for youth development at IREX, an international nonprofit, working out of Washington, D.C., where he led a USAID-funded project working with political leadership in Guatemala to improve the organization's approach to working with youth around the world and to ensure their inclusion in programming and policies that affect their lives. And it's really an honor for me to introduce Dan at this point. And I'm very impressed in the short amount of time we've been working together that Dan is a very able leader of his group, and it works very closely with the board. And I'm looking forward to a good time of working together. So thanks a lot, Dan, for being here.
Thanks a lot, John. I really appreciate John flying in from San Diego to be here in person, shoulder to shoulder, quite literally, in the same Zoom box. Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, friends of Peace Corps, and really thank you for being here today and spending a large chunk of your Saturday afternoon or morning, depending where you are, with us for the annual general membership meeting. A lot of information was just shared in John's intro, and I just want to say from the top that I'm really excited about this program we have for you today. Those of you who have been around Npca Peace Corps Connect meetings for a while now might remember the annual general membership meeting is really a quick bureaucratic meeting tied to the Peace Corps Connect conferences. And to entice you into our meeting today, our virtual meeting today, we've created more of a program than we normally would, and a lot of exciting updates, especially from our advocacy team and our communications team. But I really look forward to sharing with you, and definitely stay tuned for the keynote address at the end from Becca Sharp. We're really lucky to have her today, and I'm especially looking forward to the breakout conversations when we'll have an opportunity to interact with you. And skimming through the registration list today, I feel like I have a connection with, seems like most people on the call today, but if you'll excuse me, I'll just give a brief reintroduction of myself. I began my Peace Corps journey in the high plains of Bolivia in 1999 as an idealistic 22-year-old. I didn't know much about Peace Corps when I applied and didn't really know anyone at the time who had served. And for me, Peace Corps was essentially a well-respected vehicle where I could find an opportunity to gain some skills, satisfy my travel curiosities and curiosity about a wider world, and maybe make a difference. This was meant to be a 2-year detour on a very different path. But as you heard from my bio, things changed for me. Peace Corps changed me, and in many ways, Peace Corps ended up becoming my life. I'm one of those very lucky Peace Corps lifers. And why have I been around that long? The single most important and significant thing that has kept me around the mission for so long is the people that make up our community. The one thread that I see that really unites us, in addition to the bridge building and social justice that we also care so passionately about, is how much we care about improving Peace Corps itself. Peace Corps has been a work in progress for 61 years. And I bet that most people, I'd say everybody on this call at one point or another has made improving Peace Corps and helping Peace Corps achieve its potential a pastime. I know that none of us thinks or has ever thought that it is a perfect organization. And that's why I love the community so much, is that we're always trying to better ourselves and the organization that we support. That's with 250,000 RPCVs, there's at least that many opinions on how Peace Corps can do more. And it's because we all care so deeply about promoting Peace Corps ideals. Part of our Npca mission statement that you'll see on the next slide is promoting Peace Corps ideals. What I'd like to ask, and John kind of gave you a sense of his what he thinks of when he says Peace Corps ideals. I'd like for you to reflect on that for a moment. And since I am a trainer, I struggle when there's not engagement with the participants. So if you would indulge me, I challenge everybody to put a couple of words, 2 or 3 words in the chat. What do you think of when you hear the words Peace Corps ideals? And while you're typing, I'll share with you what comes to my mind. I think of the 2 flags that my RPCV Jamaica wife has in her DC public schools classroom. The first flag that faces her students reads, "Abide no hatred." The second flag that faces her reads, "Practice radical empathy." With thanks for these slogans to the Bitter Southerner magazine, I would like to suggest that abiding no hatred is something we can, as a Peace Corps community, all kind of agree on. And Peace Corps is nothing if not an opportunity for us to practice radical empathy. A couple other things. Finally, when I think about my experience managing hundreds of volunteers in Central America and Africa over the years, the common thread I identified for the most successful volunteers that I worked with were the qualities of humility, curiosity, and kindness. And a good sense of humor doesn't hurt either. So looking at the chat briefly, life-changing grassroots ambassadors. Thank you, Caroline. Service, respect for human dignity. Thank you, Anna. These are, yeah, I feel like these are things that I want to look at later on. At Npca, we're often talking about the Peace Corps ideals and challenging ourselves. You know, what do we mean when we say Peace Corps ideals? And it's really an evolving discussion, and we push ourselves to model our behavior and our work on those ideals. So thanks again to everybody who added their vision of Peace Corps ideals in the chat. The compilation of these, I really do think, add up to Sarge Shriver's assertion that the Peace Corps represents some, if not all, of the best virtues in this society. Yet this society is changing, and changing quickly. So how are we keeping up, and how do we plan on leading the way in the RPCV community as we do so? As you look at the current slide, you've probably seen this if you've been to the last few conferences. The pillars have not changed very much. I would like to point out that after a strategic planning process last year, and thanks to input from the community, we have updated our vision statement to read that Npca's vision is a united, vibrant, and inclusive Peace Corps community. And the pillars, while they've adjusted slightly, you see how they've been written essentially the same across the years. I'd like to bring them to life for you a little bit more. What do we mean when helping Peace Corps be the best? What is Npca's contribution to Peace Corps and to you as members of our organization? We are really thrilled about the advocacy work that we've done, especially in the last 6 months, and even more especially in the last week. We've got some exciting updates to share with you, and more requests for you to get involved. A lot of the work that we'll be celebrating is based on you. And if you'll recall, in 2020, in the summer, we held a series of 8 town halls on different subjects and themes. From those town halls, we generated the Peace Corps Connect to the Future report, using your voices to guide this organization and the Peace Corps agency on how to improve and re-engage for the future. Another part of what we do in that first pillar is flying the Peace Corps flag. And as Peace Corps re-engages with the world, again, our theme for the meeting today, it's more important than ever that we remind people that Peace Corps is here, and that Peace Corps service is national service. It's not just international support. Peace Corps is national service. With our second pillar, empowering Peace Corps the Peace Corps community members to thrive, that has changed a lot in the last 2 years since the evacuation, as we launched the Global Reentry program, which I was brought on to support in support of RPCVs coming back from service. And Jody Hammer will tell you a little bit more about this program, but we really have made a difference in the lives of many of the evacuees, but also volunteers who served many years or decades ago. We support our membership under this pillar. We engage to the extent possible. And as of this year, we are adding a diversity, equity, and inclusion component to this pillar so that we become the community where all volunteers, no matter age, ethnicity, race, or religion, feel like they have a place where they belong. Finally, when we say that we amplify the Peace Corps community's social impact, what we're talking about there are our service opportunities for return volunteers through our emergency response program, our community fund, and strengthening the affiliate groups that they can also become a part of. So I'll just tease you a little bit more with the advocacy pillar. We'll hear a lot more from Joel, Jonathan, and Miriam later on. Another thing I did want to just briefly update you on for strengthening Peace Corps and telling our story is the domestic dividend survey that we launched this time 1 year ago. I hope that many of you remember this. It's a bit long, the survey that we asked you to complete, probably took you a little bit of time. And we're happy to say that we got over 4,000 responses. The two questions that we were trying to answer in that survey was how Peace Corps, how the experience changed you and your professional future, and what did Peace Corps do to contribute to your social impact later on in your careers. The domestic dividend, I think many of you will recall the term, was suggested by Sergeant Shriver in advocating for a Peace Corps, and that there would be much more than a benefit to the countries where we worked and for the volunteers who serve, but that the average American taxpayer would also have a return on investment, so to speak, as they returned from service and help our country engage with the world. There's a further report coming soon. We were delighted. There's some conclusions that we're going to be happy to share with you. I don't think they're very surprising from what we expected, but it does help us strengthen the argument that we make as we advocate for a stronger Peace Corps, that there is indeed a domestic dividend to having a Peace Corps as part of our national service opportunities. I'd like to briefly just really thank the task force members, in particular, Dick Pyle and Janet Curley, who have led the way. We were really blessed to have a great team of faculty at Michigan State University who helped run and analyze the survey, and also would be remiss in not thanking Randy Adams and Art Flanagan, who have helped with a lot of the writing of the report that you will hopefully have an opportunity to read later on. Within our second pillar, I would like to talk about our membership engagement. To report out to you, our members, Npca has approximately 160,000 names in our database. We know that about 70,000 of you are receiving our communications and with our newsletters and email campaigns. However, only about 19,000 of those are active members. That means you're going back into our system and renewing your membership even if it's a free membership, on a yearly basis. So a couple of years ago, with our Peace Corps Community Connect project, we began an initiative to bring more, to identify the gap there, those 90,000 people, and find their contact information so we can re-engage with them. And we have seen some good growth in the last couple of years, aided by technology, and we're hoping to grow our membership by another 5,000 members this year. We hope to report more growth. I would like to point out that as of last year, about 24% of our members were also Npca donors. That number is much less as a percentage of the RPCV population. I think a university would not be very pleased with those numbers as far as members engaging and supporting their alumni association financially, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. Okay. At this point, I'd love to introduce, as part of the President's report this year, we would like for you to hear directly from some of our amazing staff who are doing excellent things. I had the opportunity to work with Jody Hammer at Peace Corps headquarters when we both overlapped there. She worked for 12 years as a career service specialist with Peace Corps, supporting volunteers. She's famous in the RPCV, at least the RPCV community, of those who've returned in the last 2 decades for her work in career counseling, coaching, and resume support, and has done amazing work with our community for the last 2 years. And she'll tell you a little bit more now about the Global Reentry Program. Jody?
Thank you so much, Dan. I'm just so honored to have been able to join Npca's Global Reentry Program after spending, 12 plus years in Peace Corps, as you'd mentioned, doing very similar work, running their career center back when they had one. And I'm thrilled to be on board here and to be here from the beginning. Global Reentry was launched in 2020 with the mission to really support RPCVs from recently returned, just getting back, who needed job search assistance and such, to those who've been back much longer in a variety of other ways as well, professional development, connection, things like that. And our services range from one-on-one, resume review assistance to maybe mock interviews to more workshops on a variety of career and transitional and educational topics, professional development, and of course the podcast that was already mentioned, the Jobs with Jody podcast, which you'll see another link in the chat box here. We are just in the process of adding. It should be live by Monday if it's not beforehand. A podcast featuring John, the meet and greet, so you can learn more about our new board chair. So lots of great things there, and I've really enjoyed working with those. This slide actually shows you the 4 different pillars, as we call them, and we work hard to provide programming in each of those different areas. Of course, our first priority when we came into being was the evacuees. It was right when COVID hit. And we had a lot of work to do with trying to help people think about going on with their lives and, career transition, also just, really trying to process this whole thing. So we did unique things also like peer support networks and those kinds of things to really help provide that emotional assistance as well. So we are here for you, whatever your stage and age and place in life. So please reach out if you do need anything. And we would love to talk with you more. We're also excited to be getting into the continued service, which you'll learn more about here today, the continued service opportunities after you finish Peace Corps. So thanks, everyone. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Jody. We'll get into the Amplifying Peace Corps' global social impact pillar now. And here I'd like to talk about 2 programs that we've been very fortunate to run for the last few years. Thanks to our previous CEO, we've had great connections with the Farmer to Farmer program. We've supported dozens of communities in Central America, South America, and West Africa with volunteers returning to work on programs such as agricultural marketing and post-harvest production. We look forward to continuing with that program in the coming year. We have excellent partners with Winrock International and Npca Clusa. We think that there's a lot of opportunity for the Emergency Response Network to expand, and especially with the migrant population as buses from certain parts of the country bring migrants to areas where they have no contacts, no support, as we have youth and families who need support. We feel like that there is an opportunity to expand into those areas and to engage more RPCVs with language and culture skills to support these communities. Not to mention natural disasters. If we had the resources, we would love to be responding more to the crisis in Puerto Rico right now, for example, and others as they occur. More to come on that. It is an area of growth for Npca, I believe, and we hope to make service opportunities, expand service opportunities for volunteers as they return, and to really be the home for RPCVs as they think about how they can continue to get involved either early or late in life. There's a lot that we can help connect you to. So use us for that, please. I'd like to talk about our community fund. we will put into the chat a further list of the projects that we've supported and at least last year. We're very proud of the work that the RPCVs are doing with the limited funds that we provide. This is another area of growth. We envision down the road a Peace Corps foundation that with resources could provide currently serving volunteers with excellent support for seed and starter funds for their projects. One of the most important reasons for having a National Peace Corps Association is to support our affiliate groups, RPCV groups around the country, humble us in comparison to the collective work that they are doing. For the first time in recent memory, at least, we are fortunate enough to hire a staff person dedicated to affiliate group support and creating a network for these groups. I'd like to quickly introduce Ari Richard, an RPCV from Eswatini, who recently served and was previously working on a different program at Npca, who he did a great job facilitating our annual affiliate group network meeting last month. And we're really fortunate to have her with our team. Ari, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what's going on with the groups these days?
Sure thing. Thanks so much, Dan. Hi, everybody. My name is Ari Richard. And as Dan said, I am the Affiliate Group Network Program Manager here at Npca. Next slide, please. Npca supports around 175 affiliate groups. That number can range from time to time, represented by the 4 distinct groups you see there on the slide. And what Npca provides in terms of support is a network of affiliate group leaders from which to seek advice, an affiliate group resource library for in-depth information, an online directory for RPCVs to find each other and to find affiliate groups to join, as well as promotion of affiliate group events through our Npca media channels. Next slide, please. Strengthening the network. So what do we mean when we say this? Npca envisions a decentralized and tightly knit affiliate network that increases inclusion, collaboration, and diversity. We've already begun the exciting process of revitalizing what used to be called the Affiliate Group Network Advisory Committee for Social Impact, which is work that supports Pillar 3 of our mission. We're very excited to include diverse representatives from the many categories of affiliate groups you see on the slide to increase the impact of work on the issues most important to our community. And we'll be holding our first meeting next month. It's been really wonderful to get to see affiliate groups embracing a more collaborative approach to social impact work. And we'll get to take a look at some of the incredible work that results from that collaboration further on in the program. Thanks so much, Dan. Take it away.
Thanks, Ari. Next up is our Director of Strategic Communications and the editor of our world famous Worldview magazine. Stephen Som has worked with Npca for 3 years or more and as staff for about 2.5 years. Stephen came in with 13 years of experience at Santa Clara University as a writer and editor. He's extremely accomplished. His references, as we were considering him, said that he was the best editor that they'd ever worked with, and he's borne that out in his improvements and recent accolades for Worldview magazine. Stephen, please take it away and introduce. I think everybody should be getting a Worldview in the mail this week if they haven't already, right?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dan, and thanks everyone for joining us here today. One of the things that we did with Worldview when I came on board in 2020 was we expanded the reach of it because it was so important to get the Peace Corps stories out there in front of as many people as possible. That's expanding the reach in print. It's meant also taking the award-winning magazine online. We launched a digital version of Worldview magazine. We can hop to the next slide and take a look at that. I think one of the things that is important with Worldview as it exists as an HTML version of the magazine, all the individual stories are ones that you can share. we can amplify those over social media. Again, reaching people wherever they are on whatever platforms they're on. And that was super important in 2020, right? Making sure that we were leading the way with telling stories in the Peace Corps community. I'm very fortunate to work with a wonderful team. You'll meet later the rest of the communications team, Tiffany James, Nora, and Luke, who are working hard behind the scenes on this program as well. But also on Worldview, I work with a fantastic art director, Pam Fogg, as a consultant. And thanks to Pam, for the second year in a row, Worldview magazine has won a national award, an Ozzy Award for the best cover for a magazine, part of the Folio Magazine Awards that recognize excellence in publishing, in editorial and design across the country and internationally. And this illustration by artist Tim O'Brien, who's done a lot of work for Time Magazine and others, is the one that brought home the award this year. The magazine also was a finalist in 2 other categories, and that's a big deal, making it in as among the hundreds of entries. And I want to mention those 2 awards because one was for the best overall edition, this one, right, made it as a finalist. But then there was also a whole series of articles, a best series of articles on Peace Corps response, which celebrated 25 years last year. And those articles were written by first-person pieces by some people who had served in Peace Corps response, but also some of our fantastic interns who had worked with us. The three interns in particular who were just really stellar, and it's great to have students' work recognized nationally with that get that kind of recognition. The most important thing with Worldview is that it's there to tell our stories and amplify the Peace Corps stories. So thanks for your support in allowing us to do that, and we try to do it the best way we possibly can. So thanks again for your support. If you're not receiving the magazine, I think Tiffany will put in an email address where you can ping us, make sure that it's coming your way. You can get it on digital, you can get it on an app. And if you're a member of Npca, you should be getting the print edition, as Dan mentioned. You should be getting the new edition within a matter of days. Thanks so much, Dan. Back to you.
Thanks, Stephen. Again, congratulations, and please continue to enjoy, everyone, the Worldview magazine that we are all so proud of. A couple of updates with our Peace Corps Commemorative project, and we've been reporting on this for the last few years, and we're pleased to announce some updates. With Peace Corps Place, we don't really have much of an update this year. Peace Corps Place is a vision that we still very much maintain, and we hope to, in the coming year, have a home for Npca and RPCVs in the nation's capital. This is a work in progress, and we look forward to continued fundraising to make it a reality. We're very proud of Alana de Joseph's work on the Towering Task documentary. And I just have a quick update here from Alana that all funds needed for the production and broadcast have been raised. Since the film premiered in the Kennedy Center on September 22nd, 2019, the film has been at 11 festivals, winning several awards, including Best Director at the Indo Global International Film Festival in Mumbai and the Humanitarian Award at the Global Independent Film Awards. The film has also been screened in more than 100 community screenings at universities, libraries, museums, conferences, community groups, and for nonprofit organizations. They're currently working to edit the film and broadcast in 2023 on PBS. We are really excited about this, and the current editing work will update the film so that it's current as of the evacuation and pandemic. So you will hopefully have an opportunity to rescreen the updated version of the documentary on PBS next year. Pat One from the Museum of the Peace Corps Experience has done excellent work even without a permanent home for the museum. The museum is dedicated to making Peace Corps ideals more visible to the general public. You can visit the museum online to read 65 stories about objects volunteers brought from home and from their years of service. And currently an exhibit of 50 Peace Corps posters is available in Portland, Oregon. You can see those there. The events in Portland have included speakers Jody Olson and the current Peace Corps CEO, Carol Spahn. Of course, Jody Olson is the prior director of Peace Corps. The museum hosts will be hosting other events this fall, and maybe Pat can add some links into the chat for these. There will be a Miss Lillian, More Than a President's Mother documentary about Lillian Carter at the Reach Center at the Kennedy Center on Sunday, November 20th. And I'd like to also talk about the Commemorative project. The Peace Corps Commemorative is meant to be a recognition of the work of Peace Corps over the years. After years of effort and reviews by federal government agencies, designs of the congressionally authorized Peace Corps Commemorative are now approved and well developed. This has enabled the Commemorative Foundation to launch fundraising activities to make this timely tribute to American ideals a reality. They are expecting at this point groundbreaking in 2024, and for more information, you're invited to visit their website at peacecorpscommemorative.org. Thank you. Thank you to those for those updates. At this point, I will start wrapping up the President's Report and introduce you to the Npca Board Treasurer, Gretchen Upholt.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I am Gretchen Upholt. I am the treasurer for the board of directors. I'm not a staff member, but I serve on the board and serve as board treasurer. I've been a board member for just over 3 years now. Just started my second 3-year term on the board, and I've served as treasurer for most of that time that I have been on the board. I'm sure this is everyone's favorite part, the numbers, the nitty gritty. I'm going to try to keep it as approachable as possible for all of you in terms of the numbers. Like I've done the past couple years, I'm not going to actually put the actual audit up on the screen, the actual financials up there. That's a little bit much to take in a presentation. If you do want to dive into the actual audited numbers, that is available on our website. And Tiffany's going to actually drop a link to that as I'm talking, so you can feel free to access that audit there. The 990 will be up there soon as well. So just quickly, a little bit more about me. I served in the Peace Corps in Ukraine from 2008 to 2010. I am a board elected member of the board, and I live in Chicago. So in the Midwest area, coming to you from my home in Chicago today. Before I dive into the actual numbers, I do just want to give a huge shout out to the staff members that work on finance and administration at Npca. Andrea, Julie, Lauren. I think some of them are on the call today. All of them have been with Npca for less than a year. We've had a lot of turnover in our finance team over the last couple years. And in that time, I cannot express what amazing work that they have done as staff members, really building out some new systems, helping us better understand our data, helping us get more timely access to data. So really want to give a huge shout out to all of them before I kind of dive into the actual numbers. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to present a dashboard. Again, if you've seen this in the past, this is similar to what I've done in past years. Just a couple of financial metrics for you that are really strong indicators of a nonprofit's financial health. Again, if you want to actually dive into the numbers, take a look at the audit. I'm always happy to help someone kind of better understand that. But what are we looking at here? So this is a graph of, you can see the last 5 years of our financial data. We are on a calendar fiscal year. So the most recent audit that we have is from 2021. That is December of 2021. That's when those financials end. So we're obviously in fiscal year 2022 right now. So you can see those numbers there. A couple just things, some of you may know this already, but I want to make sure we're kind of on the same page in terms of how we're using language here. You see operating results listed up here. So operating results for a nonprofit organization is essentially its unrestricted revenue, or revenue without donor restrictions, less its expenses. So what I mean by that, unrestricted revenue is revenue that comes in the door, kind of saying, do whatever you want with this, use it in the best way that you see fit, as opposed to restricted revenue that comes in the door either with the donor saying, I want you to use this for a specific purpose or a specific program, or perhaps it's permanently restricted. Sometimes we also have some permanently restricted. Many of you are probably aware of some of those funds that we have as well. meaning we cannot touch the principal of those permanently restricted. So just making sure we're all on the same page here. The data that I'm presenting here in front of you is our operating results, so our unrestricted revenue less our expenses. You can see here that we were kind of holding pretty steady. The actual numbers you can see at the bottom of the screen, because I know it's hard to see in the graph. Running some small surpluses for a few years. We had a large blip in 2020. I'm going to talk about that a moment. And then we did run a loss last year in 2021. So you can see both 2020 and 2021 look a bit like an anomaly here. One of the reasons that there is an anomaly there is we did have a large gift that was given to us in 2020, about $250,000. It was considered unrestricted, meaning it's showing up here in this graph in 2020, but in 2021, we got some clarification from the donor that actually they intended that gift to be restricted. So it does show a little bit of a wonky, kind of too high of a surplus that you can see there in 2020. So on the next slide, I've just done a little bit of analysis to adjust it to remove that gift so that you can see there. This is just a little bit of a more accurate picture. I will say the first slide is the audited financials. If you look at the audit, the numbers are going to be as they are reflected in the audit. But just to kind of better understand and smooth our results to make it a clearer picture of what would have happened if that gift had actually come in as unrestricted, or as restricted when it came in the door, this is kind of what it would look like. You still see a blip there in 2020, right? So almost $351,000 surplus there in 2020. I think we all remember 2020 and all the things that happened in 2020. You might be surprised to see that kind of blip up there. A lot of nonprofits actually showed strong results in 2020 for a number of reasons. For us, part of that was the same reason as other nonprofits. We took advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program, which gave us some excess funds. Generally, I think we saw increased donations due to the pandemic. People were more generous at that time, et cetera. And then decreased expenses, right? Travel is a big expense for us. There's some other things, we didn't have Connect that year, other things like that. We did it virtually. So all of that meant that we had stronger operating results in 2020. And then on top of that, also seeing some of those trends, 2019, 2020, we got a very large restricted gift that covered a lot of our programmatic expenses. A lot of the programs that you heard about today were covered by that restricted gift, which meant that we could free up more of our unrestricted revenue to really, support some of the things that didn't have those restricted gifts for them. So this is our operating results. You can see kind of steady trends, that blip in 2020, a bit of a loss last year in 2021. On the next slide, I'm going to show you the same financials, but flipped a little bit in a different way. This is another metric. It's called liquid unrestricted net assets. So this is our net assets. This is essentially our net worth as an organization. The operating results is the inflows and outflows. It's the revenue and the expenses, but this here is our net worth as an organization. In this case, we're focused on the portion of our net worth that is unrestricted. So again, the portion we can use to cover expenses that are not, designated, like none of the revenue is designated for a specific purpose, but we can use it as we feel we need to do it. And it's also liquid, just meaning we can access it pretty quickly. This is one of the best metrics and measurements of a nonprofit's financial health. You'll probably heard the term operating reserves. So that's really what we're talking about here. That's what Luna is. Best practice for nonprofits is to have about 3 to 6 months of Luna or of operating reserves on. So you can see, again, our trends here. There's numbers in the charts, or if you prefer to kind of see the graphs, there's 2 different ways to see it. You can see, again, that blip in 2020. So on the next slide, again, I have kind of adjusted for the fact that we got that large gift in 2020 that ended up actually as restricted and not as unrestricted. Again, we're only focused in this slide on the unrestricted net assets, right? What we can use. So you can see here, we had some positive trends for quite a while. That kind of blip in 2020, again, we had a really good year in 2020. And then due to the loss that we ran in 2021, you can see that at the end of 2021, we did go down, but we did still have a positive operating reserve of about 1 month. So what does this really mean for all of you, right? Hopefully you followed all of that. I'm always happy to answer questions. If people don't quite understand what these numbers mean, what does this mean for our financial health or for our future? Obviously, we don't like to see those downward trends. It's not quite a trend yet, right? It's 1 year that we see going down there. So we, are focused this year on trying to make sure that that trend doesn't continue to go downwards. You all can help a lot with that. I know we're going to talk a bit more about fundraising, I think, a little bit later, but thinking about the gifts that you make to Npca and thinking about what you're actually donating for. As I mentioned, unrestricted revenue, that revenue without donor restriction, means that we can use it in the best way that we seem to be able to or to need to. In 2020, a lot of organizations had to pivot. We had to pivot as well. We did a lot of great work in terms of helping the RPCVs that had been evacuated. We couldn't have done that if we were sitting on funds that weren't flexible, or that we couldn't suddenly pivot and say, okay, we're going to spend these money, this money in different ways. So I encourage you, as you think about your gifts to Npca, think about, there's that, when you do it, you can say, I think it's like, wherever it's needed most, I think, when you donate through Silkstar. And so I would encourage you to think about that, giving unrestricted gifts. Not only does it allow us to pivot in the way I described, it's a bit easier for the finance team to manage those unrestricted gifts, to manage our funds overall, when we can just kind of make sure that we can make decisions as we need to make them and use the funds as we need to make them. Finally, that also will help us rebuild this reserve. The only way that you can build reserves is by bringing in excess unrestricted dollars at the end of the year. The restricted dollars will sit there, they'll sit on the balance sheet. They're useful to us for the future, but they don't help us build this operating reserves. This is like our rainy day fund. This is, again, how we react and pivot and remain a strong financial organization. So with that, I am going to turn it back to Dan, I think. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Gretchen. This is 2021 financial information, and much of that is available in our audit online. Be very transparent that with our transition in leadership this year and the challenges of the last 3 or 4 months, our financial picture is painted unfortunately very differently so far this year. We are looking forward to a very successful end of year fundraising campaign to support these programs. And we are committed to providing donors with the financial information that we are able to give you. There's some questions we know, and we look forward to providing more information going forward so that we can keep these programs, these beloved programs running and not have to make any programmatic cuts. So thank you. I'd like to introduce Molly O'Brien next. Molly was one of the people responsible for building our membership over the last 2 years, and then graciously accepted the position of development manager in May of this year. We're really fortunate that Molly has stepped into this program, this role, because she knows our data better than anyone at this point, and she's extremely capable at her job. Molly is an RPCV from Jordan and Thailand and has been with Npca for about 2 years now. Molly, take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Dan. I'm really happy to be serving Npca in this new position, and I'm excited to continue developing relationships with you all. Next slide, please. As many of you may know, we converted to a free membership model in 2015 in order to allow for greater participation in Npca programs. I want to thank everyone who has become a mission partner or Shriver Leadership Circle member. Our mission partners are those who contribute $50 or more. Our Shriver Leadership Circle are our donors giving $1,000 or more. I encourage you to renew or increase your support this year. If you haven't yet become a mission partner or Shriver Leadership Circle member, now is an important time to consider doing so. Your gift directly impacts the many programs you've heard about today. As a mission partner or Shriver Leadership Circle member, your gift contributes to the work on the passage of the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act in the Senate and helps advocate for the confirmation of Peace Corps Director Carol Spahn. You can directly support RPCVs when they return from service through the Global Reentry Program. You can make a difference in our work with the 175 plus affiliate groups, their social impact initiatives, and the affiliate group network strengthening. Your gift directly contributes to the award-winning Worldview magazine, Farmer to Farmer program, and Community Fund. Without you, Npca could not be successful. With your help, we are stronger as a community. And even if you cannot give today, you can still support our community by reaching out to your friends and fellow RPCVs and sharing the link to donate. You may also consider a smaller monthly gift, utilizing your employer matching program or corporate sponsorship. Every donation makes a difference. We'll be sharing the link to donate in the chat. You can also donate at any time by going to our website and clicking the Give Now button in the top right corner. It takes less than 3 minutes. And while your financial support is critical to our mission, what's even more crucial is engaging with members of our community. You, our members, are at the heart of Npca, and I thank you for your time and your energy. If there are ways that I, in this new role, can provide you with support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you. And over to you, John.
Thank you very much, Molly. We go on the next slide. I'll go very quickly, and I know everybody else who's still on the program is going to have to shorten their comments a little bit so that we can honor our members' time. But you can see here the full staff that we have. They're also operating with some vacant positions, which is economically important right now. And so we need to express our appreciation to them for doing all of the work they're doing. Most of the people you see up here on advocacy and other areas, fundraising and so forth, and communications, you will see, but some people are behind the scenes that you don't see as often. And just want to call out Tiffany James, who's also works on Worldview magazine and other things, and Oren Lucas, who's behind the scenes. And then the operations finance team, you heard from the treasurer, but we have Andrea Dickerson and Julie, and also Lauren, who helps us out. So we really appreciate the work that they're all doing. And we obviously couldn't do any of this without the real strong work that they are doing. And so now at this point, we're going to move on to the awards section. And I'm going to turn it over to the people who are going to do the awards at this point.
Thank you, John. We had 3 finalists present their projects for the annual Rhett Miller Rupee Award for Outstanding Community Service last month at the Affiliate Group Network annual meeting. The award is named for Rhett Miller Rupee, a previous Peace Corps director and staunch supporter of the autonomy of the agency. Under her direction, Peace Corps resumed programs in 7 countries, and by the end of her tenure had achieved a 50% increase in the budget. This award honors outstanding affiliate groups for projects that promote the 3rd goal of the Peace Corps, strengthening Americans' understanding about the world and its peoples, or continue to serve host countries, build group spirit and cooperation, and promote service. I want to thank all of our finalists, RPCVs of Wisconsin-Madison, RPCVs for Environmental Action, and joint finalists RPCV Alliance for Ukraine, Friends of Moldova, and Partnering for Peace, Friends of Peace Corps and Rotary, who showcased incredible work spanning multiple causes. Following an official vote by representatives at our affiliate groups at AGNAM, we have the final results. Next slide, please. It is my distinct pleasure to announce to you that the winner of the 2022 Rhett Miller Rupee Award is RPCV Alliance for Ukraine, Friends of Moldova, and Partnering for Peace, Friends of Peace Corps and Rotary. Congratulations, and thank you so much for your commitment to service and Peace Corps ideals. Please join me in celebrating and viewing their presentation video.
It is an honor to be here today on behalf of the RPCV Alliance for Ukraine to acknowledge the acts of service of fellow Rupee Award nominees, especially our partners, the Friends of Moldova and Partnering for Peace. More importantly, we are here to continue and strengthen that service at a time of overwhelming need. In February 2022, Vladimir Putin launched a full-scale assault on Ukraine, a country of more than 40 million people and a second home to more than 3,000 returned Peace Corps volunteers. Many of our friends and family members have fled, others are fighting to defend their communities, and some are no longer with us. Everyone who served in Ukraine knows somebody affected by the war. Driven by violent attacks on civilians, 1 in 3 people have fled, 7 million are displaced internally, 5 million are scattered around the globe, and still 13 million are stuck, experiencing food and water shortages but unable to leave because the roads and bridges are destroyed. When the invasion started, Ukraine RPCVs rapidly mobilized to assist our Ukrainian friends, family members, colleagues, and communities. We are raising awareness, sending money and supplies, engaging mass media, and directly assisting with transportation, housing, and money to survive. The Alliance has delivered $280,000 worth of trauma first aid supplies. Our new grant program, funded by sales of our Ukrainian cookbook, is delivering $20,000 to local humanitarian aid projects. And we've started a Uniting for Ukraine sponsorship initiative, connecting Ukrainians with sponsors so that they can find refuge in the United States. Every day, Ukraine RPCVs are connecting on a grassroots level to distribute needed resources and information. However, the initial wave of global attention seems to have crested while we're in this for the long haul. We need partners who are as well. Thanks to the leadership of fellow Ukraine RPCVs, including Rotary Peace Fellows like Shannon Carter, we've connected with Partnering for Peace to work on a global grant for humanitarian aid. And our good friends in Moldova have stepped up to take in refugees, for which we are forever grateful. It is in the worst of times that such collaborations show their value. And we're glad to know that we're not alone. With that, let me introduce the Friends of Moldova.
Since Russia invaded Ukraine, over 500,000 refugees have crossed the border into neighboring Moldova. Recently, more than 1,000 come each day, with no end to the war in sight. This affront to world peace and stability has struck at the hearts of those affiliated with peace initiatives throughout Rotary and the Peace Corps. The Friends of Moldova, an official member group of the National Peace Corps Association, was founded as a passion project in 2020 by a group of returned Peace Corps volunteers, or RPCVs. Its mission was to support Moldovan civil and youth activists by offering grants to select projects. When the war in Ukraine began, however, the Friends of Moldova jumped into action. Some of us dropped everything to travel to Moldova and coordinate direct assistance to refugees, together with our local partners. Others of us back home in the U.S. have raised funds and spoken out. Together, the entirely volunteer-run Friends of Moldova has raised more than $680,000, one of the largest relief efforts ever undertaken by a Friends of group of returned Peace Corps volunteers. Carol Spahn, the director of the Peace Corps, flew to Moldova to help serve meals at the Friends of Moldova's first Refugee Assistance Center. Moldova's president, Maya Sandu, visited as well. Our distribution centers have now directly provided free food, clothing, and sanitary items to tens of thousands of Ukrainian refugees and assisted 175 other Moldovan relief efforts. Today, the Friends of Moldova spend $20,000 a week or more to stock our distribution centers. Money, not time or goodwill, has limited our ability to support the refugee community in Moldova. That's why we've been so excited to team up recently with Rotary International to obtain new funding. Rotary clubs from Oklahoma City to Raleigh, North Carolina have worked with RPCVs and the Friends of Moldova to secure disaster response grants from Rotary. Others will follow. Partnering for Peace, the RPCV Alliance for Ukraine, and the Friends of Moldova exemplify what is best about the Peace Corps and the RPCV community. Next, Partnering for Peace.
In 2014, Peace Corps Director Carrie Hessler-Radlett and Rotary General Secretary John Hugo signed a memorandum of understanding to promote their shared mission of service and sustainable community development. Those leaders understood that Rotary and Peace Corps' areas of focus virtually mirrored one another. The MOU was signed as I began my service in Peace Corps, Georgia. Unaware of the global agreement, I connected with the Rotary in Tbilisi. It just seemed logical. Partnering for Peace is a nonprofit built to support the Rotary Peace Corps relationship through awareness, education, and outreach. It has supported joint projects stocking library shelves in PCV villages, administered health screenings, provided microloans, organized sanitation, water, and hygiene projects. Vocational training and conflict resolution programs align perfectly with Peace Corps' third goal. Our members planned several multinational Rotary Youth Leadership Award conferences for Ukraine. Our website documents over $1 million in joint projects. The war in Ukraine has brought Rotary and RPCVs together to aid Ukrainian citizens and refugees. Members have supported funding and assisted on the ground, coordinating with RPCV Alliance for Ukraine and Friends of Moldova and Rotary clubs around the world. Fundraisers, donations, Rotary grants, and local support are now the norm. As president of Partnering for Peace, I was recently asked to assist Rotarians in Paris who needed people to unload emergency supplies from Spain to Moldova. Friends of Moldova could assist with that. There is so much we can do together. Partnering for Peace is honored to play just a small part in connecting the Rotary community with these passionate Npca affiliate groups.
Congratulations. This is a very exciting award. We're this group of affiliate groups joins a very awe-inspiring history of recent awardees amongst our affiliate group community. And we look forward to your nominations next year. Please let Ari know if you would like to nominate a group for their excellent work, and we'd be happy to share those nominees at our Affiliate Group Network annual meeting next year. At this point, I'd love to introduce my friend Jody Olson, who, as mentioned before, is a previous agency director of Peace Corps and currently co-president of the Women of Peace Corps Legacy Affiliate Group. Jody's an RPCV from Tunisia and was the Peace Corps director from 2018 to 2021. Joining Jody is Megan Celestine. She is the co-president of Women of Peace Corps Legacy and RPCV from the Eastern Caribbean between 2014 and 17. She previously worked as a country desk officer and now is working at the Federal Emergency Management Administration, FEMA. Jody and Megan, thank you for joining us today to present your award. I'm especially excited because one of the recipients is an RPCV from Ethiopia from my time there, and I know that she is so deserving. I can't wait to hear more.
Megan Celestine and I are co-presidents of Women of Peace Corps Legacy. We want to thank you, Dan, you're great, and Npca for our affiliation and support you give and for being able to collaborate with other affiliate groups. Today, we'll give a brief note about our organization, present our Debbie Harding Women of Achievement and Kate Raftery Emerging Leader Awards, and invite you to our award celebration on October 11th. Next slide. Women of Peace Corps Legacy was founded 12 years ago to advance women and girls' empowerment, to help highlight organizations working with women and girls, and to support women whose lives have been impacted by their service to Peace Corps. We have over 600 members, a newsletter, and offer monthly Zoom programs about global issues affecting women, honor successful Peace Corps women through 2 annual awards, which we're now celebrating, offer an annual mentor program for Peace Corps women, and sponsor 2 gatherings to celebrate our activities for women and girls. Now on to these exciting awards. Megan, it's yours.
Good morning, good afternoon. Women of Peace Corps Legacy is excited to announce Janice del Rosario as the 2022 winner of the Kate Raftery Emerging Leader Award. This award honors emerging women leaders under the age of 40 that have demonstrated dedication to improving the lives of women and girls. Janice began her career conducting independent research on girls' lack of access to education in Cameroon in 2010, where she met Peace Corps volunteers who inspired her to do something about it. She then served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Ethiopia from 2013 to 2015. While in Peace Corps, Janice served as the National Coordinator for Gender and Development and participated in early planning that eventually led to Peace Corps' Let Girls Learn initiative. Janice has led education and youth leadership initiatives at the Bronx Institute at Lehman College and at the Sadie Nash Leadership Project, helping over 125 young people get into college. Currently, Janice serves as a program officer for the Girls First Fund, a donor collaborative supporting community-based organizations in the Global South, combating child marriage and helping girls strive self-determined lives. In the future, she plans to directly resource girls-led projects and ideas because she believes girls have the energy, capacity, and courage to change the world. Janice is also donating her award grant to Latinas en Líderes nonprofit, which seeks to empower girls from under-resourced communities in the Dominican Republic. We thank Janice for her dedication and commitment to improving the lives of women and girls domestically and internationally. Now, back to Jody.
Women of Peace Corps Legacy is honored to announce that Dr. Teresa Castello, next slide, yes, is the 2022 winner of the Deborah Harding Women of Achievement Award. This award honors women leaders who have shown a lifetime of dedication to improving lives of women and girls, both in the US and throughout the world. I believe that Dr. Costello is joining us here today. Thank you for your service. Are you here? Do I see you? There you are. You're fabulous. Dr. Costello, and you'll love this part. Dr. Costello was a volunteer in Turkmenistan, Morocco, and Mali. Specialist. She's competing with Dan, I can tell. She was a very determined volunteer, as she had to transfer to Morocco after Turkmenistan closed, and then to Mali when Morocco's program was temporarily suspended. Through these country transfers, she continued her maternal health specialist work, which influenced her subsequent 25-year career in gender, social justice, and health equity. She focuses her professional activities on cultural rights, sexual and reproductive health, violence prevention, and community development among the vulnerable populations, and has worked across Asia, North America, and Sub-Saharan Africa, supporting NGOs, UN agencies, and host country ministers of health to strengthen healthcare. After all of this, currently, Dr. Costello serves as Chief Program Officer at Health Right International, where she launched the Women and Children's Health Program, putting women and girls at the center of development. She is also an adjunct professor at Bard College, New York University, and Teachers College, Columbia University. She is also the founder of Unmuted, Our Sisters' Voices, a woman of color empowerment circle. Dr. Costello received her bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago and her master's and doctoral degrees in public health education from Columbia University. Dr. Costello, I don't know if you ever sleep. This is extraordinary work that you're doing. I want to note that Dr. Costello is donating her award grant from Women of Peace Corps Legacy to the Peace Corps Partnership Funds. These include the Rupee Gender Fund and the Philippines Country Fund. These two funds will support volunteers once settled back into their communities of service as Peace Corps moves forward. And Dr. Costello, thank you for all your hard work. Congratulations. You are a champion and a model for us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Megan.
All right, thank you again to our 2022 award recipients. You continue to inspire us and make an impact on women and girls all over the world. In celebration of the International Day of the Girl Child, we invite everyone here today to join Women of Peace Corps Legacy's Women and Girls Win virtual event on Tuesday, October 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will honor Dr. Teresa Castillo and Janice del Rosario, who continue to strive to make women and girls win and thrive. You can register at womenofpeacecorpslegacy.com or through the registration link in the chat. Thank you, everyone, and I will pass it back to Dan.
Congratulations to Janice and Dr. Castillo. This is really well-deserved, the honors. We look forward to this presentation, hopefully on a yearly basis now with Women of Peace Corps Legacy sharing their awardees during this meeting. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Megan. You're wonderful advocates for Peace Corps and for this community, and we appreciate the work you do with Women of Peace Corps Legacy. We love promoting your work. I would like to, as teased earlier on, announce our advocacy team, introduce Joel Rubin, who is the newest member of the Peace Corps Npca team. And Joel comes with a lot of advocacy experience on the Hill as part of the Obama administration and RPCV Costa Rica. Joel, go right ahead.
Wonderful to be with everybody. Thank you, Dan. And as well, thanks to the winners. Congratulations. Your work awe-inspiring and really demonstrating why we do what we do. As Dan mentioned, I'm Joel Rubin. I'm Vice President for Global Policy and Public Affairs here at National Peace Corps Association. I served in Costa Rica, was also on Npca board as well as RPCVW board. And I'm honored to introduce my colleagues, and we're going to speak with you for about 10 minutes or so about what's going on in advocacy. Jonathan Pearson, who everybody knows, our longtime leader, advocacy director at Npca, really the voice to Capitol Hill for the organization and for the community. And Jonathan served in Micronesia. And also Miriam Foote, who's been an inspiration to me and to many others. She is an evacuated volunteer. She left because of COVID-19. She was in Benin. She's now our advocacy associate, also going to graduate school, was over at USAID with USAID this past summer. So she is a future leader and superstar as well. But before we get going on this, I'd love to introduce Chick Dombach, my friend, my mentor, President Emeritus of Npca, former President and CEO of Npca, known to all of us. And Chick is an essential leader of bridging our different generations here in the Peace Corps community. And I'd like to ask Chick to share a few thoughts about this moment.
Thank you so much, Joel. What a treat to be here and to have an opportunity to comment. And by the way, I wore my Npca sweatshirt to my granddaughter's soccer game this morning. So I try to carry the banner wherever I go. Joel asked me to say a few words about our Peace Corps Connect to the Future project, which we spent the last over 2 years working on. When the Peace Corps was evacuated, just happened to come at the 60th anniversary of the Peace Corps, and Glenn and others in the Npca community thought, well, let's take advantage of that and connect with as many people as we can and think about the first 60 years and what the next 60 years should look like. So we put together a leadership team and advisory council of about 25 people, bringing in as much diversity in years of service and every kind of diversity element you can think about. And we held 8 town hall meetings. We held an ideas summit. And coming out of that came a very strong report that was published about 1.5 years ago, got significant attention everywhere, including at the Peace Corps, very strong response there. We spent the last 1.5 years taking a look at what happened as a result of that, and then now have a new report to come out that basically indicates what happened as a result of the first report and what still needs to be done. And Miriam will talk about in detail about that. But again, it's just an honor and a privilege to be here and to be a part of this amazing group of people, and especially work with my dear friend Miriam, whose dad is one of my oldest and bestest buddies. And I followed everything you did in Benin because your dad told me. Every week I'd get pictures and stories about what you were doing in Benin. So it's just great to have you on the team. Miriam?
Thank you, Chick. I really appreciate that. It's been a pleasure working with you as well and going through this process. I really appreciate that, as well as the advocacy team. So I'll start off with the Peace Corps Connect to the Future report. So in March of 2020, I, alongside thousands of volunteers around the world, were abruptly evacuated from our sites due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We returned to the US and faced many challenges as well as opportunities to re-envision what the next few years would look like for us. To know where we're at, it's always important to look back and see all the important work that we've been able to do, as well as the gaps and the opportunities that still remain for us going forward. So when I came back, we all had, culture shock. We were dealing with quarantining, finding jobs. And I was really able to work with Npca to kind of help to support the community and also craft actions and advocacy to support volunteers returning back and adjusting. So this work created the vision that's now embedded in the legislation going on before Congress. And a lot of it also has been crafted by this report that we were able to create. So this was really a creative moment for us. And now what Chick was mentioning, we're working on we finished a report on the report. So looking at, where have we gotten so far after these last 2 years, and this beautiful report has come out. Where are we now in the community? What remains to be done? And what work have we done so far within Peace Corps and Npca? So hopefully we'll be sending that out soon, but it's about a 7-page report. So we're very excited for that. Next slide, please. So over the last 2 years, really what's been really important is people getting out and talking about the Peace Corps, getting out, writing op-eds in all their newspapers across the country, mobilizing across the United States to support the Peace Corps. And we've been able to do some social media campaigns to generate online support using the hashtag Peace Corps Now. like hashtag. And the campaign included roughly 70 participants, 26 former and current members of Congress. This is also included on our report. Our PCVs were able to place about 38 unique op-eds, 1 radio interview in 23 states, including DC, covering the entire country. And this combined circulation appeared almost 2.3 million times. So really the Peace Corps-led advocacy and the pushing has been very essential in terms of getting our message out there about how much we care about the Peace Corps as well as its legacy. Next slide. So now we are a moment where we're sending volunteers back into service, including many of the friends that I served with who are in this photo. So it's really exciting to see people getting back out there. As you can see, this is Benin, that's where I served. And so people getting back out there, people ready to continue their service. And with each passing week, more and more volunteers are heading into the field. Approximately 500 volunteers have already returned. And the hope by end year is for there to be 1,000 volunteers back in 35 countries. These volunteers are continuing our legacy and commitment to service. And so we're very excited for all my friends going back out there and excited to see all their posts and all the amazing work they're doing. So now I'm gonna pass it on to my colleague, Jonathan, who'll continue our work.
Thank you, Miriam. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been 2.5 really difficult years, and it's clear now that Peace Corps is on the way back, and we've got to be back for the Peace Corps. And the next 3 months are arguably the most consequential period in over a quarter century. And what we need to do before the end of this calendar year is get Carol Spahn confirmed as the next Peace Corps director, fully pass the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act, and secure a funding increase for the Peace Corps. And we can't do this without you. And NPCA advocates all around the country are needed. And I wanted to just introduce you to one of those, Valerie Young of Maine. Valerie wanted to share a message on the experiences and the work of the Maine Peace Corps Association.
I'm Valerie Young, a returned Peace Corps volunteer and the Maine Peace Corps Association's advocacy coordinator. I'm speaking with you today to share my experience of working with Congress on behalf of our community. I've done it, and I know you can do it too. And the Peace Corps needs you now more than ever. Over the past 7 years, and with the help of RPCVs before me, we've forged relationships with Maine's delegation. We're proud of the leadership they've shown in supporting the Peace Corps, and we're thrilled that Senator Susan Collins has become such a strong voice for the agency. Our group started by meeting with district office staff and establishing a rapport. We shared with the Senator's team how, as a result of our Peace Corps experience, we're working hard to make Maine a better place. Then, with the support of NPCA's advocacy team, we joined the National Day of Action on Capitol Hill, meeting with congressional staff there to continue to talk about ways they could help make the Peace Corps stronger. It was exciting to be where it all happens, and our presence solidified our relationship with Senator Collins' team. That relationship grew, and we've now been joined by the Senator for the past 2 years at our virtual meetings. It was so rewarding to be able to speak with her directly and to urge her to support the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act. We're happy to report that Senator Susan Collins is now a co-sponsor and has made Peace Corps one of her priorities in office, thanks to the continued calls to action by her constituents. Years of grassroots effort have led up to this moment in time, and as RPCVs, we understand how patience and persistence can have long-term impact. And that's what's happening now, as we just saw a record high number of senators sign up onto the Peace Corps funding letter, and we have a growing list of bipartisan co-sponsors on the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act. We're so close to the finish line. This is why what we do right now matters. I hope that each of you listening today will join us to harness the goodwill that exists for renewing and revitalizing the Peace Corps, as the pending Peace Corps Reauthorization Act will do. So please take action now. Sign up to join NPCA's advocacy efforts and help us to pass this bill. Doing so will make a better Peace Corps for all who come next. Thank you, National Peace Corps Association, and thanks to each of you in helping us to pass the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act this year.
Yeah, just as Valerie said, as Jonathan said, as Miriam said, as Chick said, as many of us here on this call have said, this is the window to get Peace Corps reauthorized for the first time since 1999. And it's not just a reauthorization, it's an actual reform bill. It helps the volunteers. It enhances our footprint, our ability to serve abroad and advance American ideals and values while building partnerships. So we are very excited about this. I'll get into some details now, but start off with the quote from the Senate author of the Peace Corps Reauthorization Act. And that's Chairman of Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Robert Menendez, who said, as volunteers return to service after being forced to evacuate due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this once-in-a-generation bill implements necessary reforms to make certain that Peace Corps has what is required to meet the needs of its volunteers around the world. Next slide. In the Senate, the bill's bipartisan authors are Senator Menendez, the lead Republican ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Jim Risch, and then in the House, we just got it passed this Monday night. I'll get more into that. The leaders were and are John Garamendi, the sole RPCV in Congress, and Garrett Graves from Louisiana. These two are the co-chairs of the Peace Corps Caucus. But I gotta say, without Congressman Garamendi's leadership, we would be nowhere. He has been pushing this bill for years, the ideas in it, and to the point where last week on the House floor, when there was going to be a vote, he contacted us and asked for copies of the Worldview magazine, the one that Stephen mentioned that won an award, so that he could distribute it. And Jocelyn from our team ran up to the Hill and gave the Garamendi office 60 copies of that magazine, and he handed it out on the floor to make sure that we had enough votes. And we needed every single vote because it passed on Monday night, the House version, with 290 votes. Now, to get it passed, we needed 290 votes. Because a few members weren't there, we needed less that one night. But we passed that bill, got it done by the skin of our teeth. Every single vote mattered. Every single vote counted. But it's down to the wire. And that's why we need your help right now. Without you, without Valerie, for example, getting Senator Collins on board, who knows where we'll be. So every margin matters. Now, in the Senate bill, there are currently 15 co-sponsors, 6 Republicans, 9 Democrats. That's strong. That gives us a good argument going forward for the next few months. And if you're not familiar with Congress, how it works, I'll just make a really quick statement here. If the bill does not pass by the end of this year, the bill dies. And we have to go back to the drawing board at the beginning of next year and do this all over again. Now, we don't know what Congress is going to look like next year. We don't know who our champions will be. We don't know what the dynamics will be. This is the moment. This is why we need you in this uncertain political environment to help ensure that we get this act done. And I'll tell you more about the act now. Next slide, please. In the bill, and as Marion pointed out, the ideas in the bill are derived from the Peace Corps Connected to Future report that Chick described and that Glenn Blumhorst was central in envisioning as something that we needed to do to get the voice of the community into the legislative process and into the reform of the Peace Corps. So here are some key bullets of what is in that legislation. It authorizes agency funding through 2027. It increases readjustment allowance, suspends in the Senate version federal student loan interest during the duration of service. It extends transitory healthcare coverage for RPCVs from 1 to 2 months, provides greater whistleblower protections, codifies 2 years of non-competitive eligibility for RPCVs up from the current 1, strengthens DIA efforts at the Peace Corps, expands Peace Corps eligibility to include people from American Samoa, increases the level of workers' compensation, strengthens and extends sexual advisory assault counsel. And it's just, the list can go on and on. What it's also done is it's educated a whole new generation of members of Congress about how vital the Peace Corps is to America abroad and to their constituents. These are reforms we've been fighting for years. We really need your help right now. We'll be calling on you. Jonathan's going to bring this home, and we really do hope to have your support as we get this bill passed into law. Jonathan.
So in closing, everyone, as Joel said, we cannot miss this moment. We've got to make this moment happen. Those of you who are with us today, those of you who are listening in, we need each and every one of you. We need 10 of your friends going forward over the next 3 months. And we're going to put in a link. The very first thing you can do, there's a link to our special 61st anniversary action that we have posted on our Action Center site. Please share that, move that, send it out. And then the other thing that I'll say in closing is that the 3 of us are going to be in one of the chat rooms at the close of the formal program, and we'll be happy to answer any other questions or so you can find out more how you can help. Please stop by if you have a chance, even if just for a couple of moments. Thank you very much, everyone. Dan, back to you.
Thanks, Jonathan, and everyone who is working so hard on behalf of this authorization and the advocacy work and the Peace Corps Connect to the Future. We're most proud of our advocacy work this month. I would like to thank and apologize to Becca Sharp for joining us today. We are running about 25 minutes behind schedule, so appreciate your grace from all of you as we did time this yesterday. We're just a little bit more long-winded today, I guess. But Becca Sharp graciously agreed to join the meeting today. Becca is a Biden administration presidential appointee, serving as the regional director for the Europe, Mediterranean, and Asia EMA region at Peace Corps headquarters. She began in March of this year. At the agency, she oversees 20 posts, including 800 staff approximately. Sharp's global development career began with her Peace Corps service, during which she co-founded an award-winning reproductive health and youth volunteerism NGO in Kazakhstan, where she served, and that still exists today. Congratulations on your Peace Corps service, Becca. Becca worked extensively across Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and East Africa, and has a specialty in her career in impact evaluation, strategic consulting, behavioral economics, project design, and business development. She holds a BA with honors from Harvard University, an MBA from the Yale School of Management, and Npca in International Development from Princeton. Becca, thank you again for joining us. We're really looking forward to hearing what's going on with the return to the field and anything else you'd like to share with us. And perhaps I'll squeeze in a few questions of my own after you wrap up.
Thank you so much, Dan, and thank you, everyone. Those are actually very hard acts to follow. I feel like I have met on this call some legends of Peace Corps, including former Director Jody Olson. Really just lovely to be here today, and honor to be here, and thank you for the invitation and for the commitment it takes to join a Zoom call on what's turning out to be quite a lovely Saturday. I looked at the introductions in the Zoom chat, and I just wanted to shout out there was an RPCV Kazakhstan, actually a counterpart from Kazakhstan. So just incredible to see the global representation in this virtual room, and particularly just the dedication of everyone who is part of the Npca community of believing in the mission, the spirit, and the lifetime of service that comes with Peace Corps, and particularly exercising ownership in improving the Peace Corps. So thank you again for allowing me to be here and speak today. So as Dan said in that really lovely introduction, my name is Becca Gong Sharp, and I'm the Regional Director for Europe, Mediterranean, and Asia. Maybe Jody or someone else can one day explain to me why that is a region at Peace Corps. It's a very large, very diverse region, and we fondly call it EMA or TIMA. After spending the last 6 years as an NGO executive of a fast-growing data and evidence global development nonprofit, I actually joined the Biden administration in this role just 6 months ago. And of course, as Dan said, my bond to Peace Corps goes back much further. I'm an RPCV from Kazakhstan, from the EMA region. So being appointed to this role is truly the honor of a lifetime, and is really coming full circle for me. So happy to join my fellow dedicated and passionate RPCVs to celebrate the impact of the Peace Corps on the communities we served in, and frankly, not least on our own lives, right? I always say that a defining learning of being a Peace Corps volunteer is realizing that you actually get so much more out of it than you can ever hope to have given. I was invited here by Dan to talk about the current state of the Peace Corps. And of course, I can specifically give you a lot of perspective on the Europe, Mediterranean, and Asia region. And we actually saw some of what I'm going to cover in my remarks in the wonderful awards that were given earlier in this meeting. So needless to say, EMA is facing a lot these days. In March of 2020, we had the global evacuation of all Peace Corps volunteers for the first time in the agency's history due to COVID-19. And that was an extraordinary effort where all volunteers were evacuated safely in less than 8 days. But the volunteers and the trainees were given very short notice that they had to depart from their communities and return home to the US. And, you know, as Mariam so wonderfully put it from her firsthand experience, it was a heartbreaking experience for many of them. And since then, we've been working tirelessly to get volunteers back to service, which is happening. More on that in a sec. And since that year, our region in particular has faced even more unprecedented challenges. We had to shutter our program in China, and just a few months ago, our post in Myanmar as well, due to the latest military coup. And of course, our largest post in the region, and indeed in the world, Ukraine, has been under devastating attack due to the horrific Russian invasion, which continues to this day. The world has just never seemed more complicated than now, with war, disease, and injustice seemingly glaring at us from the front page of the news every single day. But we are very lucky to all share the indefatigable spirit of the Peace Corps. And I'd like to tell you that through these unprecedented challenges, I've seen some of the most inspiring stories of my life emerge. It's my pleasure to share a couple of those stories with you today and briefly highlight some of the major positive developments of the agency, including developments that, of course, have benefited from the wonderful support of Npca and its members. So to start, we have to talk about COVID-19. Obviously, this pandemic has raged on. It's caused unbelievable tragedy. Many of us have lost loved ones. We've experienced social isolation. It's curtailed the opportunities for intercultural exchange that means so much to this group, for just the freedom to travel and go places, or to meet and have the conferences and connectivity opportunities that we are used to. But most significantly, it has set many countries back years, if not decades, with regards to public health, food security, and economic growth. And combined with that, the war in Ukraine has caused devastating economic and financial effects across the globe. But true to its spirit, Peace Corps has risen in these darkest of times to the challenge of service. In the spring and summer of 2021, we deployed 158 volunteers through Peace Corps Response to support FEMA in domestic COVID-19 vaccination efforts, which is only the second time in history that PCVs have served domestically, with the first being, of course, after Hurricane Katrina. And overseas, our staff have been very hard at work on COVID-19 holistic response and recovery, even as they have not had volunteers. So for example, in the Philippines, our Peace Corps staff have vaccinated nearly 10,000 Filipinos, with transport provided by the Peace Corps drivers and staff such as the Peace Corps medical officers fanning out to mass vaccine clinics all across Metro Manila and other provinces. At last week's Global Country Director Conference, the first one in 7 years, my country directors told me that a silver lining of the pandemic and not having volunteers has been watching our dedicated Peace Corps local staff step up and show that during this great pause, they are an integral part of serving their own communities in this time of need. And I also wanted to share with you again a little bit about the Peace Corps community's response to the invasion of Ukraine. As soon as Russia invaded, Peace Corps was working day and night to support 54 staff on the ground. We organized TDY, temporary duty assignments to not only the US, but other posts, welcomed Ukrainian colleagues to whoever could leave, which of course was a minority. And we supported with as many financial and HR related benefits as possible. And meanwhile, of course, as you saw in the award ceremony, an incredible Peace Corps effort was also happening across the border in Moldova, which is surrounded on 3 sides by Ukraine and received one of the largest per capita influxes of refugees, roughly 70,000 of which are still there in country. Our staff and Peace Corps Moldova partnered with a local restaurant owned by an RPCV living in Chisinau to create a donation collection center for refugees. And over the course of just that first month after the invasion, they served over 19,000 refugees, providing them with food, hygiene products, bedding, and clothing in that critical window of time before larger international organizations like the Red Cross and UNHCR had stood up their own support infrastructure. This past spring, I went to an event with Ukraine RPCVs at the Ukraine House here in DC, and the event was helping to fundraise for efforts by a PCV leader who had served in Ukraine for 4 years and met and married his Ukrainian wife during service. And they were both transporting first aid kits, personal first aid kits via plane to Warsaw on the weekends to distribute critical health supplies to the front lines while they were both working full-time jobs. If that is not the service of Peace Corps and the spirit of Peace Corps, I really don't know what is. I've just been blown away by the strength and the determination and the generosity of the entire Peace Corps community. And despite all of these challenges, Peace Corps has really been pushing forward with innovation and with impact. You can see in our recently launched 5-year strategic plan, which the Connect to the Future report deeply informed, that we are reimagining Peace Corps to meet this unique moment in history. The 3 pillars of the plan are 1, reimagining service, 2, advancing equity, and 3, delivering quality. The plan has ambitious strategic initiatives related to global COVID-19 response and recovery, climate change, of course, one of the biggest issues of our time, and improvements in diversity, equity, and inclusion at Peace Corps. And we've also piloted an innovative new virtual service program that allows RPCVs, like all of you, to continue lifelong service despite the barriers of the pandemic. And this is very exciting. This is actually pretty much hot off the presses from this month. We have just relaunched our virtual service program in Ukraine. So I saw a lot of RPCVs Ukraine in the chat box and the introductions. All of you can now sign up to engage with local Ukrainian organizations that need our support during these trying times. So even in the middle of a war zone, when 2-year volunteers cannot serve yet, the virtual service program allows Peace Corps to continue to partner with the communities that we care about. So Ukraine RPCVs, tell your friends, they can sign up right now for a 12 to 24 week engagement, starting with a time commitment of just 5 hours a week to serve communities who have been impacted by the war using a range of those excellent Peace Corps skill sets, from translation to financial management to English club facilitation. So on that note, I just want to leave you with the most important message of the day. The one thing, if you forget everything else I've said, please take this away. We need your help to spread the word that Peace Corps is back. We are living through really unsettling times, and the need for the mission of Peace Corps, peace and friendship, has just never been stronger. And in the past half year, we've made significant progress on the return of Peace Corps, with 50 countries issuing invitations for volunteers and 600 PCVs already back across 27 countries. But we do have a long way to go. So to take one example, in the EMA region, also hot off the presses, we expect to welcome our first cohort of volunteers to Vietnam next month, a historic program opening that's only been 17 years in the making with the help of Barack Obama and John Kerry. And we're exploring new partnerships all the time. So if you have friends, your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, friends of friends, please tell them to consider joining us in this momentous return. Because as we've all experienced, serving in the Peace Corps will change your life. It is really the toughest job you'll ever love. And as RPCVs, you are the very best spokespeople to relay the special experience of serving in the Peace Corps to Americans around the country. Through all these years, though a lot has changed, some things have not changed, like the individual level bonds that are formed of friendship, of generosity, of mutual respect, and of learning when you enter and immerse yourself in a community for years. We are the only people in the global development community and the US foreign affairs apparatus that has this people-to-people model. So to all of you who are a part of the magic of Peace Corps and who are so committed to its ongoing success and evolution, I hope you will help us spread the word and inspire the next generation to follow in your impressive footsteps of service. And just a last quick shout out, if this event was not enough Peace Corps fun for you today and you are in the DC area, please come say hi to me at the Kennedy Center tonight, where members of our Ukraine staff and other Peace Corps storytellers from around the world will be showcasing ethical storytelling, highlighting not just RPCVs, but actually primarily voices from our host country communities. So it's going to be a very special event. If you are going to be there, please come say hi to me. I would love to meet some of you. Thank you so much. Happy to answer questions in the breakout rooms.
Thank you so much, Becca. Wow, that great update. I can feel your enthusiasm, and you took my slide. That was.
I did.
Yeah,
Saving you time, Dan.
I really appreciate you being here with us today, and I had a list of questions for you, and we really, we're behind, but we're definitely going to try to adjourn by 4 p.m. So thank you all again for your patience with us. I just want to ask you one question. You can take it either of two different ways. As you talk to your country directors and your teams in the field about the changes that have happened to Peace Corps, I've got many friends, of course, that still work in the agency, and I understood how busy they were without volunteers, even revamping training materials, revamping project planning materials, and how Peace Corps evaluates itself. And I'm just curious, what is the one thing that you feel your post leadership are most excited about the changes that Peace Corps has implemented? Or you could take it the other direction. What is the biggest challenge to implementing the change that Peace Corps wants to see in the field?
I think that people are very excited about rising up as Peace Corps and contributing to the most pressing problems of our time. So a big part of our strategic plan is that comprehensive COVID-19 response and recovery. The and recovery piece is key because it's not just about vaccinations and hand washing and public health interventions. It's about the enormous education gap that COVID has created. It's about the enormous problems with food security, with gender-based violence and domestic violence that the pandemic has just revealed, these really immense social and economic problems and exacerbated them, things that existed before, but that now, global development goals have been set back by as much as a decade. So I think people are fired up and excited about being a part of that comprehensive recovery throughout the world. I think the pandemic really made it very, very clear, something that Peace Corps and RPCVs has always known, which is that we are connected to each other. If we do not contribute to solving problems around the world, if we are isolationist and focused on just our own thing, quote unquote, here at home, we will never make progress. So I think people are very excited about that. I think people are challenged by, obviously, this pause, has been really challenging, and the pause has created an opportunity that I think Peace Corps has used to make these investments. But the pause has, I'll be frank with you, created challenges when it comes to recruiting. Recruiting is not the kind of thing that you just show up to an event and the very next day that person signs up for Peace Corps. We all know this, having done Peace Corps. It's something that I was ruminating on for years, right, before I did it. And so due to not being able to go to those events and not being able to have those touch points with candidates for several years, we're now behind, I would say, in terms of where we need to be with telling people that we are back in service and making it clear the process and the things that they have to do to apply. And Peace Corps service no longer looks like it did back when. We all know that Peace Corps service has certain restrictions and policies, but now there's even more of those, due to wanting to be safe and secure going back in the pandemic. So that is why I think we need your help. We need the help of Npca. It doesn't even have to be like organized or coordinated. I think if every single person on this call were to do an event at your local high school, do an event at your local church, do an event at your alma mater, many hands make light work, and we truly need all hands on deck right now.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for that call to action and demonstrating a lot of talent in answering two questions in one with the pandemic and the opportunity that exists. I hope people will take you up on your kind offer to stay even longer than planned and talk to you a little bit more in the breakout room. And thanks again, Becca. I really appreciated you joining.
Thanks for having me.
We are wrapping up at this point. I'm just going to very quickly go through some reminders. Please follow Npca and help spread our messages. You know how those social media algorithms work. The more likes and shares that they have, the more people see them, and the more people, as Becca asks, will be reminded that Peace Corps is here and we're back in the field. I would like for you to stay tuned. There's at least a few questions I saw today about Peace Corps Connect 2023. We have not done an in-person event in 2.5 years now, and we would love to make that happen. We are still searching for a host for the where we can hold the event in hopefully July of next year. I'm still nailing that down and hope to share some updates by the end of the year with this community. So check out our newsletters for updates there. Please remind yourself to every month to check out the upcoming events on our calendar. There are plenty of webinars and affiliate group events that you're encouraged to attend no matter where you are. Zoom has shrunk our country and community to the point where we can attend events many miles away that were previously only available to specific geographic areas. So check out our virtual events on our calendar. Celebrate with us the Worldview magazine winning a 2nd year in a row Aussie and Folio Award. We're really excited and of course celebrating the progress of the Reauthorization Act, which is your progress. Again, it was your voices in the Peace Corps Connect town halls two years ago that led to a lot of the language in this Reauthorization Act. And if you would like, we open our board meetings to the public. Our Q3 board meeting is scheduled for October 3rd. You can find that event on our calendar as well. Thank you all.
Okay, at this point, I want to let you know that the minutes for the 2021 meeting have been approved. So we are finished with that particular piece of business. And just very quickly in closing, I appreciate all of you who have stuck around for these entire 2 hours. You've gone all the way to see the good work that is happening at Npca. I know there are questions that are pending for people. People have questions about further questions about the finance. And as Dan mentioned, that information will be provided, whatever is helpful to donors to understand the financial situation in Npca. I know people also still have lingering questions about the leadership challenge. All I can tell you is that we have a new board. The 22-23 board is a new board. I was not on the board at the time that the previous decision was made. And all I can surmise, just like many of you are asking, that for some reason the board decided that it was not a good fit to continue that relationship between the board and the CEO. But what I can let you know is going forward, while I am on the board and hopefully in the future too, that we'll have a very close working relationship with the CEO, working back and forth, and that we'll have, when inevitable problems arise, that we will have a means of communicating what the problems are and handling it in an orderly and timely way. And that's my commitment to you. I have said, as I've been on this position for about 17 days now, so I'm still learning what's going on, but we really do need your support to continue forward. So thank you very much for coming to this meeting. And at this point, we are going to have some information about the breakout rooms that follow, and then we will adjourn the meeting.
I will be opening the breakout rooms in just a moment, and you should be able to, they're open now. So it should pop up for you on your screen, but if it does not, you can go to the bottom of your Zoom taskbar and look for the breakout room option. If you don't see it, click on the More button and then click Breakout Rooms. And you're welcome to join any room you would like. Just click the little blue join button on the breakout room.
Thank you, Molly. And at this point, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting, and it is being seconded by Jocelyn. So this meeting is adjourned, and we look forward to seeing you in the future, and hope some of you can stay around for the breakout rooms. Thank you very much.
For those of you still in the room, I would like to acknowledge the work that went into producing today's event. We do not have an event planner on our staff, so it was a true team effort. Showing here are the names of those who helped out with today's event. I would like to, in particularly, acknowledge Jocelyn Cordell for leading the charge and to pulling this off with great skill.